I swear, if smugness could be bottled, my wife would have had her own brand in every supermarket by now. The way she carried herself lately, you'd think I was the side character in her rom-com, standing in the background with groceries while she flirted with the leading man. The night it all shifted, I wasn't even suspicious. She had asked me to dinner, just the two of us, serious talk. Now, in my mind, serious talk usually meant another lecture about how I moved too slowly through life. Like patience was a crime. But a man can hope, right? I thought maybe she wanted to fix things. Instead, I walked into the restaurant and found her already seated. Next to him, Chase Donovan, her colleague, black shirt a size too small, hair gelled like he'd face-planted into a tub of axle grease, smirk sharp enough to cut glass. "Logan," she said sweetly, like she was announcing a new puppy. "This is Chase. You've heard me mention him." Oh, I'd heard too often. The mentor, the inspiration, the guy who just gets her. I sat down, forcing a smile while my fists itched beneath the table. Then Chase leaned forward, locking eyes with me like we were in some spaghetti western showdown. "I'll make this simple," he said, smooth and rehearsed. "You've got two options. Leave quietly, or face me like a man." Ashley didn't blink. She didn't flinch. She just smiled, like this was the entertainment she'd ordered with her wine. Inside, I could feel the gears shifting. Not rage is messy. No, this was precision. The kind of calm that makes people nervous because they can't tell if you're about to laugh or burn the place down. So I smiled back. "You want your teeth whole, or in pieces?" The table went silent. That was the opening act. The real show was just beginning. They dragged me out of that restaurant like I was the villain in some soap opera. Security guards gripping my arms, patrons whispering behind napkins, Ashley clutching her pearls as if she hadn't just staged the world's most humiliating ambush. Outside in the cold, I stood with blood drying on my knuckles and silence in my chest. Not anger, not grief, just silence. The kind that settles right before a storm makes landfall. When I got home, the place didn't feel like my house anymore. Her perfume still hung in the hallway, but it was layered with something else, a scent I didn't recognize, musky or arrogant. I checked the bedroom. The bed was made, perfect corners. Ashley never made the bed like that. She barely managed to throw the blanket over the sheets. No, this had hotel energy, a stranger's touch. I sat down at the edge, mind buzzing like a hornet's nest. Her smug smile from dinner, replaying on a loop. My phone buzzed. A text from her. "You didn't have to do that. You embarrassed yourself." That was it. Not "Are you okay?" Not "Let's talk," just blame. Cold and clipped, and that's when the switch flipped. I wasn't a husband anymore, I was an investigator. I started in the closet. A new pair of red heels I'd never seen. Price tag still tucked inside. Expensive, too expensive for girls' night. Then her vanity, a tablet she always left unlocked because, in her words, "You're too boring to snoop." Wrong again. First photo, Ashley in a mirror selfie, barely dressed, in a hotel room I didn't recognize, date stamp. Last weekend, she told me she was at her friend Lacey's baby shower in Sacramento. Second photo, Chase shirtless, brushing his teeth in the background. My breathing went shallow, my vision tunneled, but I didn't throw the tablet. I didn't scream. I just kept scrolling. Because sometimes you have to let the knife go all the way in before you can pull it out clean. Messages, videos, his voice calling her my little secret, her giggling like a teenager. One note where she called him daddy, and then the line that froze me more than anything else. "He still thinks we're going through a rough patch. Poor baby." That's when I knew I wasn't living with a wife. I was living with a con artist, and she had no idea her mark had just woken up. The next morning, she strolled into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Hair tied up, coffee in one hand, scrolling through her phone with the other. I was already sitting at the table.com/steady. The kind of stillness you mistake for defeat until it ISN single quotes. She looked up at me. "What?" I didn't answer. I just slid the tablet across the table, open on the messages. Her fingers froze mid-scroll. She stared at the screen for a long time, eyes scanning the words that had burned holes in me the night before. Then she slowly lifted her gaze back to mine. "Why were you snooping through my stuff?" That's what she said. Not "I'm sorry," not "you misunderstood." Not even a lousy excuse. Just deflection. I leaned forward, voice low and steady. "You lied to me. You gaslit me for months. You humiliated me in public. And you let that powder salesman call me a placeholder." Her face twisted into that look she reserved for customer service workers and waiters. Condescending, smug, untouchable. "You're overreacting, Logan. It's not what it looks like." I let a humorless smile cross my face. "Oh, because what it looks like is a married woman bragging to her boyfriend about how dumb her husband is. And I've got screenshots, dated, timestamped, backed up twice." Her jaw twitched, just a flicker, but enough to tell me she knew I wasn't bluffing. "Look," she finally sighed, her tone softening into fake sympathy. "We were struggling. I was lonely. You don't exactly make me feel alive anymore." Nodded slowly. So you thought you'd outsource the marriage to Chase. She winced at his name, like it was a bruise I'd pressed on purpose. You don't get it. She tried again, softer now, almost pleading. I need someone exciting, someone who'll dump you the second your Pilates membership lapses. I cut in. Yeah, sounds like a real long-term strategy. She slammed the mug down on the table, coffee sloshing over. The rim god, you're insufferable. No wonder I erased a hand. Calm, cold, careful. Because every word you say, from here on out, it goes in the file. And trust me, I already have enough to bury you in court. That shut her up. For the first time, I saw something new flicker across her face. Not guilt, not shame. Fear. And that's when I realized she finally understood I wasn't playing her game anymore. There's a myth out there that when a man gets cheated on, he either yells, throws stuff, or collapses into tears. Maybe that's true for some, but not for me. I've spent my whole life building things, machines, contracts, teams, and I learned a long time ago that explosions don't build anything. They only leave rubble. I wasn't about to give Ashley the satisfaction of rubble. That morning, after our little kitchen standoff, she stormed upstairs, muttering curses under her breath, and slammed the bedroom door. The sound was supposed to rattle me. Instead, it just gave me clarity. I stayed at the table a while, staring at the tablet she'd left behind. The messages, the selfies, the ridiculous voice notes where she called Chase daddy. If Humiliation had a greatest hits album, my wife had just produced it. But here's the thing, humiliation doesn't sting as bad when you start treating it like evidence. And that's exactly what I did. The folder I had already been keeping, a folder old school manila, tucked away in the nightstand for a couple months. Receipts that didn't match her stories. Gas charges in towns she never drove through. A Hilton invoice with 2 guests signed in under the same room. At the time, I wasn't even sure I'd use it. Part of me had been clinging to the hope that I was paranoid. Now, that folder was about to become my scalpel. I pulled it out, slid the tablet printouts inside, and labeled it cleanly in black Sharpie, Ashley Chase. I didn't scribble, didn't press too hard, just steady block letters. You'd think I was organizing files at the office, but the neatness made it feel real, controlled. Because if she thought I was going to storm out of the house crying, she didn't know who she married. The lawyer at 11:32 a.m. I called Marcus, not my best friend, not my brother, my lawyer. He picked up on the second ring. Logan didn't expect to hear from you on a Thursday. I need you to draft papers. I said, today. There was a pause on the line. He knew me well enough to understand what that meant. Infidelity, undeniable proof, enough to make a jury blush. He whistled low. All right, do you want aggressive, or do you want silent and clean? I looked at the folder sitting on the table. Silent and clean had its appeal, but Ashley's smug little smile from the restaurant replayed in my head, and I felt that calm steel rise again. Both, I said. We'll be polite in public, but behind the scenes, I want her thinking she stepped into a minefield. Marcus chuckled softly. That's why I like working with you. I'll have the draft by tomorrow. Send me the evidence. Already on your way. Click. Done. Next step was Kyle. He's the kind of friend you don't talk to every day, but when the world burns, he shows up with a hose. We've known each other since high school. He was the guy who convinced me to skip prom for a weekend fishing trip, and I've never regretted it. I texted him, need a favor. Confidential. Meet at the diner. 1 p.m. He responded with one word. Always at the booth. Over burnt coffee and greasy fries, I slid the folder across to him. He flipped through a few pages, his jaw tightening. Jesus, Logan, she's not even subtle. She never had to be, I said, stirring my coffee like we were discussing football scores. She thought I'd never notice. Or worse, that I'd notice and still stay. Kyle looked up. So what's the play? I leaned back, the calm still in my chest. I'm not just divorcing her. I'm taking away the story she built. The one where she gets to paint me as boring, predictable, too safe. She doesn't get to walk into Chase's arms with half my assets and a victim badge pinned to her dress. Kyle grinned, that wolfish grin he had in high school. You've already got something cooking, don't you? Always, I said. The conversation that night, Ashley came down for dinner, as if nothing had happened. She'd changed into yoga pants and one of those oversized sweatshirts she wore when she wanted to look cozy and innocent. I served pasta. She didn't say thank you, just twirled her fork, pretending to scroll through her phone. Halfway through the meal, she finally looked up. So, about this morning. I didn't answer. She tilted her head, giving me that fake pout. Come on, Logan, we can get past this. It was just a mistake, a phase. You've been so cold lately, and Chase, just stop, I said, calmly, firmly. Fork clinked against the plate as she froze. What? You don't need to explain, Chase. I know who he is. I know what he is. And more importantly, I leaned forward, voice dropping into that quiet register that always made my employees sit up straighter. I know what you are. Her face flushed. You're being dramatic. No, dramatic would have been flipping this table. Dramatic would have been storming out of the house. I'm not dramatic, Ashley, I'm deliberate. I let the words hang there. She didn't know it, but every sentence was another nail in the coffin of her control. She scoffed, trying to regain ground. So what? You're going to divorce me? Give up everything we built? I smiled, not warm, not kind. Just the smile of a man who knows he's already won. No, Ashley, I'm not giving up anything. You are. Her fork slipped from her fingers, clattering against the plate. She opened her mouth to reply, but I stood, took my plate to the sink, and rinsed it like it was any other Thursday night. Behind me, I could feel her trembling, not from fear, not yet, but from the first crack in her certainty, and that was enough for now. The long game later that night. After she'd sulked upstairs and slammed the door again, I sat at my desk and opened a fresh document. At the top, I typed 3 words. The long game. Then I started outlining financial moves, social moves, quiet conversations with people she'd never expect me to talk to. Every step calculated, every trap set. Because Ashley wanted excitement. Oh, she was about to get it. She just didn't realize excitement isn't as fun when you're not the one pulling the strings. When people think of revenge, they imagine fire, explosions, shouting, maybe a little broken glass for good measure. But the best revenge isn't fire, it's frost. Slow, creeping, and impossible to stop once it sets in. That night, after I titled my plan The Long Game, I didn't just sleep well. I slept like a man who had finally found the blueprint to his freedom. Step 1. The finances. The first lever I pulled was money. Ashley always thought I treated bills like background noise, automatic drafts, endless spreadsheets, little numbers shuffling between accounts like bees in a hive. But I knew every cent that moved. Always had. At 8 a.m. sharp, I called my financial advisor, Martin.com, professional, the same tone I used when we discussed quarterly reports. Morning, Martin, I need to put a freeze on account 3472. Yes, the joint one. And while you're at it, remove Ashley's name from any accounts tied to my business holdings. There was a pause on the other end. Everything okay, Logan? Everything's excellent, I replied. Just housekeeping. He hesitated, but paperwork is paperwork. Within an hour, Ashley's free-flowing credit was gone. No more impulse shopping sprees at boutique stores. No more surprise gym memberships she swore were investments in herself. By noon, she was on the phone with the bank, screeching loud enough I could hear her from the living room. I sat at my desk, sipping coffee, pretending to focus on invoices. When she stormed into my office, red-faced and flustered, she spat. They said the accounts frozen. Did you do this? I looked up from the screen, dead calm. It's called financial responsibility. You should try it. Her jaw dropped for the first time in years. She didn't have a retort ready. She just stormed out, her footsteps clattering. Down the hallway. Checkmate. First piece. Step 2. The social circle. Ashley thrived on appearances. To her, friends weren't friends, they were an audience. She curated them like throw pillows. Bright, decorative, and interchangeable. So the next move was simple. I emailed Celeste, her closest ally. Celeste wasn't really a friend. She was the kind of woman who smiled while sharpening knives, which made her perfect for my purpose. The email was short, polite. Celeste, I thought you should be aware. Ashley and Chase have been meeting outside of work. Hotel receipts attached. Photos to as her friend. You deserve to know the truth. 10 minutes later, Celeste called. Her tone dripped with false concern, but I could hear the excitement buzzing beneath it. Logan, honey, I don't know what to say. This is just shocking. Truly, I smirked. I thought you'd want the truth. Oh, of course, I'll handle it. By evening, 3 more of Ashley's friends had texted me cryptically, are you okay? If you need anything, we're here. Unbelievable. Ashley had no idea yet, but the whispers had begun. Her kingdom of Instagram smiles and why night confessions was starting to crack. Step 3. Work. Chase wasn't just some fling, he was her colleague. And in corporate land, appearances matter, so I forwarded a very particular email chain to HR at her firm. Nothing embellished, nothing dramatic. Just screenshots of her calling him her real partner while signing documents with clients. Enough to raise eyebrows. Enough to start questions. By the end of the week, I got word from a contact inside the office that Ashley had been called into a compliance review. I didn't ask what happened next. I didn't need to. The seed was planted. The confrontation. At dinner that Friday, Ashley insisted we go to dinner. We need to talk, she said, trying to coat her voice in honey. I agreed. Why not? Sometimes the best way to watch a tower fall is from a front row seat. We sat at a little Italian place she liked. Lights, soft music, waiters who called everyone Bella. She dressed up for it, of course. Curled hair, red dress, heels. I hadn't seen before. She looked like she was trying to audition for the role of devoted wife. Halfway through the meal, she leaned across the table. Logan, I know, I've made mistakes, but we can work through this. We're stronger than some rough patch. I twirled my fork slowly, not even meeting her eyes. You call that a rough patch? I call it perjury. Her smile faltered. Don't be cruel. I'm trying here. No, Ashley. You were trying when you dragged me into a restaurant to parade Chase in front of me. You were trying when you called me a placeholder. Now, I set the fork down, leaned back, and looked at her with the kind of calm that makes people sweat. Now you're scrambling. She blinked, stunned. You think you're better than me? You think you can just cut me off? I smiled faintly. Not better, smarter, always was. Her face twisted, equal parts rage and panic. She grabbed her wine glass, drained it in one gulp, and muttered, "You'll regret this." I didn't reply, because regret is for people who play checkers. I was playing chess. Step 4. The family. The last trap I set that week was the cruelest, but also the cleanest. Ashley had always bragged to her family about how stable I was. Boring, yes, but reliable. She used me like a trophy to show she'd built a picture-perfect life. So I called her mother. The conversation was polite, respectful. I simply explained that Ashley had been struggling with fidelity, and I didn't want her parents blindsided by rumors. I sent nothing explicit, just enough evidence to prove my words weren't hollow. Her mother went silent on the phone, then whispered, "Thank you for telling us, Logan. We'll talk to her." I hung up knowing full well what would come next. A storm of judgment Ashley couldn't deflect with a fake smile or a new handbag. The evening silenced by the end of the week. I sat in the living room with the TV off, listening to the house breathe. Upstairs, Ashley paced, muttered, made frantic phone calls. Her credit cards were frozen. Her friends were whispering. Her job was wobbling. Her parents were questioning. Piece by piece, her empire was falling, and I hadn't raised my voice once. As I sat there in the silence, folder on my lap, I realized something important. She thought I was boring, predictable, safe. But the truth is, boring men are the most dangerous. Because we wait, we watch, and when we move, it's already too late for the other side to stop us. It's funny how quickly confidence curdles into desperation. Just a week earlier, Ashley was strutting through restaurants like a queen, with her court jester Chase at her side. Now she was pacing our kitchen barefoot at 2 in the morning, whispering frantically into her phone. I stayed upstairs, lights off, listening through the vent. Her voice trembled in that sharp, hype way she always got when her world tilted. They froze my accounts. Chase, no, I don't know how. What am I supposed to do? You said you'd cover me. What do you mean, you're low on cash? I almost laughed right there in the dark. Chase, the big hero, apparently couldn't even pay for his protein shakes, let alone bankroll her lifestyle. Perfect. The next morning, Ashley came down in full costume, blow-dried hair, pearl earrings, her good wife sweater. She poured coffee, smiled tight, and set a mug in front of me like she was auditioning for a detergent commercial. "Morning, honey," she said, too brightly. I raised an eyebrow. "You're chipper." She sat across from me, stirring her coffee so violently I thought the spoon might bend. I was thinking, maybe we should take a little trip, just us. Reset. Reset, yeah, a weekend away. Somewhere nice. I found a great deal at the Burstone. I let a slow smile creep across my face. The Burstone, the same hotel where half her little escapades had taken place. The audacity almost impressed me. "No thanks," I said evenly. "I don't like déjà vu." Her hand froze mid-stir. For a split second, her mask slipped the wide eyes, the pulse jumping in her neck. Then she forced a laugh. "You're impossible, you know that." I sipped my coffee. Not impossible, just awake. She didn't finish her cup. The social fallout by Wednesday. The fallout from Celeste's whisper campaign reached full bloom. Ashley stormed through the door that evening, heels in one hand, phone in the other, face flushed with rage. "Did you send those emails to my friends?" she demanded. I looked up from my laptop. "Emails, don't play dumb. Celeste won't even return my calls. Jenna uninvited me from her birthday dinner. Everyone's acting weird." I closed the laptop calmly. "Maybe they just don't like homewreckers." Her jaw dropped. She stopped herself, took a shaky breath, and tried another tactic. "Logan, this isn't fair. They're turning against me because of lies." I leaned back, folding my arms. Funny thing about lies, they usually need a defense. The truth. It speaks for itself. She didn't have an answer, just stomped upstairs and slammed the door so hard a frame rattled on the wall. I smiled. The traps were working. The work blowback, the next blow landed harder. Thursday afternoon, I got a call from an old contact in her office. He spoke in a low tone, half amusement, half pity. "Logan, you didn't hear this from me, but Ashley's been put on leave. Something about conflict of interest. HR's all over her. Appreciate the update," I said smoothly. "Hope they figure it out." When Ashley came home that night, she was pale. Didn't even take her shoes off. Just dropped her bag, stood in the doorway, and muttered, "They suspended me." I looked up from the paper I was reading. "Tough week." Her eyes snapped to mine, wild and searching. "You did this." I folded the paper neatly, set it aside. "No, Ashley, you did this. I just stopped covering for you." For once, she didn't scream. She just stood there, shoulders sagging, like someone had finally cut the strings. Then she turned and shuffled upstairs like a ghost. The family interventions. Saturday afternoon, her parents showed up. They didn't call first, didn't knock long, just walked in with tight faces and heavy silence. Her mother pulled Ashley into the dining room while her father lingered with me in the kitchen. He cleared his throat. "Logan, is it true?" I poured him coffee. "Which part?" His jaw tightened. "The affair." I handed him the mug. "I'm not in the habit of lying to parents. Check her phone if you need proof." He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "She always was reckless. We thought she'd grow out of it." "People don't grow out of character," I said quietly. "They just get better at hiding it." He didn't argue. When they left, an hour later, Ashley was red-eyed and furious. She rounded on me the second the door closed. "You told them." I met her glare with calm steel. "They deserve the truth. Not your version. You're destroying me." "No, Ashley, I'm revealing you. Big difference." She stormed off, but the fight was gone. Her tantrums had shrunk into WHIMPERS. But the desperation moved that night. I caught her at my desk. She didn't hear me walk in. She was rifling through drawers, yanking at files, searching for anything to use. When she turned and saw me in the doorway, she froze like a kid caught stealing candy. "What are you doing?" I asked calmly. She stammered. I was just looking for the tax forms." I nodded toward the file clutched in her hand. "That says insurance policies. Doesn't look like taxes to me." She swallowed hard, color draining from her face. Slowly, she put the file back. I stepped closer, voice low but steady. "Here's the thing, Ashley, you thought I was predictable, that I'd roll over while you built your little side story. But you never noticed predictable men are the ones who prepare, and I've been preparing longer than you've been lying." Her lip trembled. She whispered, "You're cruel." I shook my head. "No, I'm precise. Cruel is what you did when you dragged me into that restaurant to humiliate me. What I'm doing, that's just balance." She didn't reply, just brushed past me, eyes glassy, and disappeared upstairs. The calm before the finale. By Sunday, the house was silent. Too silent. She wasn't slamming doors anymore. She wasn't yelling or pacing. She just lingered, quiet, watching me like a cornered animal. And in that silence, I knew it. The final act was coming. She wasn't going to apologize. She wasn't going to change. She was going to strike one last, desperate move, and I was ready for it. Because she still hadn't realized the truth. While she was planning her little games with Chase, I was already planning the ending, and the ending wasn't going to be hers. Cornered people don't think they thrash. And Ashley was no different. It happened on a Wednesday. I came home from work, set my keys on the counter, and found her sitting on the couch with Chase beside her. He looked like he'd dressed for a cologne commercial-type blazer. Too much hair product, smug grin plastered on his face. Ashley smiled at me with that practiced sweetness, the same one she'd used on waiters for years. "Logan, we need to talk." Chase leaned forward, elbows on knees. "This can go one of two ways. Man, you give her a clean breakhouse car, a generous settlement tan. We all walk away without bad blood." I studied him for a long second, then glanced at Ashley. "So this is the big plan. Bring your boyfriend over to negotiate my surrender." Ashley bristled. "Don't be dramatic. We're just trying to be adults about this." I chuckled low, steady, dangerous. "Adults? Ashley, you brought your side piece into my living room, like this is a reality show. That's not adult, that's pathetic." Chase's smirk faltered. Ashley's smile cracked. I leaned back, utterly calm. "Here's the problem. You two are late to the party. Papers are already filed. Assets already locked. Friends and family already know. By the time you finish rehearsing this little speech, the world will already see you for what you are." Ashley's face drained of color. Chase's smugness twisted into anger. "You'll regret this," he hissed. "No," I said, standing, towering over them both. "You will." Then I walked upstairs, leaving them sitting in silence. Because sometimes the cruelest thing you can do is nothing at all. The next week was pure theater. Ashley's friends avoided her calls. HR's investigation into her and Chase ended with both being quietly dismissed. She tried to spin it online, posting selfies with captions about new beginnings and choosing happiness, but the comments were brutal. "Didn't you just get fired?" Poor Logan. "So this is Chase. Yikes." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I just watched her curated little empire crumble one post at a time. Then came the letter from my lawyer. Clean division of assets. Ironclad prenup enforcement. All of it stacked in my favor. Ashley got nothing but her clothes, her car lease, and Chase if she could keep him. The night she read it, she stormed into the kitchen. Waving the papers like a white flag, she refused to surrender. "You set me up," she screamed. "No," I said calmly, sipping my coffee. "I just stopped protecting you." She slammed the papers on the counter. "You're heartless." I met her glare without blinking. "No, Ashley, I just finally matched your level." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. I picked it up, dusted it off, and set it aside. That was the last time she ever tried yelling. Here's the part no one saw coming: not Ashley, not Chase, not even Marcus, my lawyer. For months before the implosion, I'd been moving money not just into safe accounts, but into a separate trust. Quiet, untraceable, airtight. And I named it after Ashley. Not out of sentiment, out of irony. Because, when the dust settled, Ashley thought she'd lost everything. Friends, family, job, reputation, money. She clung to Chase like a drowning woman clings to driftwood. But Chase wasn't built for wait. Within 2 months, he ghosted her, moved to another city, blocked her number, scrubbed his socials, clean. Ashley was left with nothing but debt and bitterness. That's when I released the final move. A single anonymous package arrived at her apartment, a flash drive. On it, every screenshot, every receipt, every email compiled, time-stamped, organized, proof of every lie she'd told, and the final file, a video of me.com, and collected at my desk, saying, "You called me boring. Predictable. But here's the truth. Ashley placeholders don't build empires. They don't outthink liars. They don't win. Men like me. We don't explode, we calculate, and when we move, it's already too late." She watched it, I'm sure, probably more than once. Probably with that same hollow smile she'd used to hide her fear. You'd think the story ends with me walking away, free and clear. And in a way, it does. But there's one more twist. Remember that trust I named after Ashley? I didn't keep it. I donated the entire thing to a women's shelter, in her name. So, every time she tried to play the victim, every time she told someone how cruel I'd been, the receipts said otherwise. Her name was tied to charity, to generosity, to rebuilding lives. Meanwhile, she was stuck explaining why she was broke, jobless, and abandoned by Chase. The irony was almost poetic. The only legacy she had left was me making her look better than she deserved. As for me, I rebuilt, quietly, stronger, colder, not because I wanted to but because I had to. And if you're wondering whether I regret anything, the answer's simple, no, because revenge isn't about rage. It isn't about fire. It's about balance. And Ashley, she learned balance the hard way.